A lot of parents have this instinct that silence is the best way to protect their kids from all the complicated stuff. Puberty, sexuality, all of it. The idea is to shield them, to keep them innocent for as long as possible. But let's be real, in a world where information is literally everywhere, does silence actually protect them? Or does it just leave them unprepared? That's what we're going to get into. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with a really common misunderstanding that parents have. Then we'll look at the empty space, the information vacuum that silence creates, and the real dangers that can fill it. And finally, we'll flip it around and talk about the incredible power of just having a conversation and how you can become the person your child turns to. Okay, so let's get right to the heart of it. There's this deep-seated belief that if we as parents just don't say anything, then our kids won't know anything. It's like we think our silence is a magic bubble of innocence. And honestly, it usually comes from our own fear or just not knowing how to start these talks. And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? We all want to shield our kids from the tough parts of growing up. That's a powerful, natural feeling. But in this world, with phones and friends and everything else, we've got to ask ourselves, is silence a shield or does it just leave them standing there with no defense at all? I mean, this quote just says it all, right? This is exactly what happens when there's an information vacuum. A kid's brain doesn't just go blank. No way. It goes looking for answers. And if we're not the ones giving them, they'll patch together their own version of reality from whatever they can find. Movies, friends, the internet. And that can lead to some really confusing and sometimes even dangerous conclusions. Look, the bottom line is information is everywhere. The choice for parents isn't if their kid will learn about this stuff anymore. It's how they'll learn it, and more importantly, who they'll learn it from. Thinking our silence keeps them in the dark just isn't a realistic strategy in the digital age. Okay, so if parents being quiet creates this big empty space, this information vacuum, what exactly rushes in to fill it? Let's take a look at where kids are actually getting their answers when mom and dad aren't talking. Well, when you're not there to guide them, they usually end up in one of two places. First, their friends, who are probably just as confused as they are, swapping rumors and half-truths. Or second, the wild west of the internet. It's this massive, unfiltered ocean of information with both good stuff and really bad stuff, all mixed together with zero context. And this whole problem gets even bigger in places where talking about this is a huge taboo, and it's definitely not being taught in schools. In those situations, the entire responsibility falls right on the parents' shoulders. And if they stay silent too, well, then kids are left completely on their own with no reliable source to turn to at all. And we're not just talking about some silly, harmless myths here. This lack of guidance can have really serious, real-world consequences for a child's health and emotional well-being. So what happens? Well, their minds get filled with stuff that's just plain wrong. It gets harder for them to figure out what's okay and what's not, which can leave them really vulnerable. But maybe the biggest danger of all is the lesson they learn without us even saying it, that we are not the safe person to come to with their biggest, most confusing questions. And seriously, we have to remember, today's kids are curious, they are resourceful, their drive to understand things is huge. So if a parent shuts a door on a topic, the kid doesn't just stop being curious. Nope, they just go find another door to open. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the risks of silence. Let's pivot and talk about the solution. And it really all comes down to a huge shift in how we see our role as parents, moving from being a protector who blocks information to a guide who helps them understand it. This right here, this is the key. It's a total mindset shift. So many parents are afraid that giving kids information will somehow make them act out. But the truth is actually the complete opposite. Giving them the right info at the right time doesn't corrupt them. It protects them. It's one of the best tools we can give them to stay safe. And look, this doesn't mean you have to give them a huge lecture they're not ready for. Not at all. It's about being tuned in to where they are. When they start asking questions or when their bodies start changing, that's the perfect time. It connects what they're learning directly to what they're actually experiencing. And the difference this guidance makes? It's huge. You can almost see it here, right? When kids have a trusted adult to talk these things through with, their own inner compass for telling right from wrong gets so much stronger. This isn't just about biology. It's about building a foundation for making smart, responsible choices in life. And the best part? The positive effects just ripple outwards from there. When you choose conversation over silence, you're doing so much more than just teaching them facts. You're actually building a foundation of trust that will make your entire relationship stronger for years and years to come. So, how do you actually do this? Well, it breaks down into a few key things. It's about creating a safe space where no question is off limits or stupid. It's about being their friend in that moment, listening with empathy instead of judgment. It's about explaining things clearly, helping them get the why behind it all. And really, it all boils down to trust, showing them over and over that you're the one they can always come to. And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? This is the ultimate goal. When you build that bridge of communication, you become their first call when things get weird or scary. But if you create that distance, if that bridge isn't there, they have no choice but to look for answers somewhere else. Because at the end of the day, our job isn't to build a bubble around our kids or control their every move. It's to empower them to navigate the world on their own. By giving them knowledge and by building their trust in themselves and in you, we're equipping them to make smart, safe choices for the rest of their lives. So it all comes back to that first question, doesn't it? The choice isn't if our kids will learn about the world, it's simply who they're going to learn it from. By stepping up and choosing to be their guide, parents can make sure that the lessons they learn are built on a foundation of safety, respect, and self-worth. Thanks so much for tuning in.